Okay, we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office. North Georgia's only live online morning show, Drain the Swamp Fannin County segment. Now, I want to make sure you understand I have all the documentation, and I just want to recap. Don't want to go backwards, but I have been warned about taking on this subject. Seriously, I've been warned about it. I have seen what has happened when you try to take on the county attorney in Fannin County. I've seen what happened during the N-word story. I won't get in those weeds. I've seen what happened during the FBI investigation, the bogus. I've seen that. I've seen what happened during the Brenda Weaver check scandal. So I understand all too well what it's like to take on this person, but I have no fear of it. I cannot be recalled, and whatever they call me, it's not like they haven't called me that already or said I'm the lowest form of life, but I have this here ready to go. Anyhow, so let me just say, so on the 13th, home rule, which is law, which Lynn Doss wrote, says the commissioner cannot exceed $4,500 without approval. Okay, that is the law. Lynn Doss wrote that on September 22nd, 2015. It was signed into the Fannin County law. Now, on December 13th was the final BOC Fannin County meeting of the year, and Bill Simonds presided over, former chairman, and they did approve checks for $4,500, okay? Now last week, if you remember, I put a lot of pressure on them to see the checks from the first BOC member of 2014 that Chairman Stan Helton presided over, and there was a reason, because I knew this check was not in the last one, okay, that we're talking about. But I wanted to see if it was in the first one for Stan Helton, between that gap, because there's a lot of problem there. I'm going to tell you why it was not in Bill Simonds and why it was not in Stan Helton's. What is the big deal on those two meetings for the $4,500 or over check? So on the 14th, December 14th, a check was cut for $5,708.34 for Doss & Associates. Well, what's the big deal? Two things. Number one, Doss & Associates had been paid in full for 2016. So you have fiscal year 2016. What is the problem with that? Well, I have the check right here in the story. I'll tell you where you can go look at it later. It's for $5,708.34. It's on December 14th, 2016, and the invoice is January 2017. So Doss & Associates were paid for January in December fiscal year 2016. They were paid for January 2017 in advance on services. Now, let me give you a couple bullet points that there's a problem with that. Number one, 2016, how are they going to modify the bookkeeping? So how are they going to adjust 2017's bookkeeping to move that $5,700 over to 2017 and explain why it was spent in 2016? Just how they doing all that? Well, they may be able to do that, but if they're having to modify money being spent for one year to another, God forbid, wonder what else they have to modify in there, okay? So first of all, that's number one. They have to move that fiscal 2016 spending for a line item that is 2017, okay? That's number one. Two, it's an advance payment, okay? I called Earl Johnson. It's in the story. I called Post Commissioner Earl Johnson. I said, Post Commissioner Earl Johnson, did you know this check was cut? Did you know that? Were you aware a check was cut for Doss & Associates for 2017? He said, I had no idea anything about a check. I don't know nothing about a check. Wasn't told anything about a check. And I, for one, did not know that we paid anybody anything in advance. Anything in this county. So totally caught him off guard. All right? Now, what's the second problem with the check? The check was cut under Bill Simonds' administration. Now, I understand Doss will argue this, but the check was cut under Bill Simonds' administration, okay? For 2017 Stan Helton's administration. What's the big deal? Well, I do not know. I have not asked if Mr. Chairman Stan Helton wanted to continue services with the county attorney. But when that check was cut in 2016 for 2017 services, it bound Mr. Helton to use Doss and Associates. So Lynn Doss made sure that in 2017 she'd be the county attorney. How? Because she knows, I know, you know, and most attorneys know that a payment for services like this is also bounding the county to use the service. They have to use the service. Or maybe could they go in February or whatever before they pay the next one to make a change? But, so Bill Simonds knew he was not going to bound Stan Helton, the new chairman, in his decisions. So here's what my understanding. So I interviewed Earl Johnson, post commissioner. So I called former chairman. He went on the record, Bill Simonds. Now, the clerk, the accounts payable clerk, is I have it here, right here, is Miss Julie Locke. And she was not interviewed for this story. But Miss Julie Locke is the accounts payable clerk. So, I have this all in the article. So I called Bill Simonds, a former chairman. I said, Mr. Simonds, did you approve Lynn Doss's payment for over $4,500 for January services? He said no. He didn't approve it. That Miss Locke came to him and said that Lynn wanted her check for January. And wanted her check printed. And this is the day after they had the meeting. And my understanding from Mr. Simonds, he said, has Lynn Doss been paid in full for 2016 for the year? And Ms. Locke, my understanding, told the then chairman, yes, she's been paid in full for the year. And he said this would be a 2017 payment, and I don't want you to cut the check. Let's let Stan Helton, the chairman coming in office, let's let him decide how he wants to handle payments to the county attorney in 2017. I don't want to make that decision for him, basically, okay? So, my understanding is Ms. Locke's instructed by him not to cut the check. So, here's what I understand. You have the chairman saying, don't cut the check. You have December 13th where they approved checks and hers was not in there. You have Earl Johnson saying he don't know anything about it. And if the spending limit's over $4,500, then who in the world gave Larry Joe Sosby, post commissioner, authority to approve Lynn Doss's check? So, here's my understanding, and I will wrap this up for today, and we'll work on it again tomorrow. All right? So, now, I've interviewed Larry Joe Sosby. I interviewed Earl Johnson. I interviewed Post Commissioner Earl Johnson, Larry Joe Sosby, the former chairman. Now, here's an interesting thing. I interviewed Chairman Stan Helton. So I called Mr. Helton and I asked Mr. Helton. Now, on the morning of December 14th, all right, on that morning of December 14th, then Chairman-elect Stan Helton, Larry Joe Sosby, Post Commissioner, and Lynn Doss, County Attorney, the three of them were together at the Commissioner's office the morning of December 14th. All right? And they were there. The purpose was to call Rita Davis Kirby in, the county clerk and the county CFO, to let her know that after the first of the year, her services would no longer be needed. My understanding is that came from Larry Joe Sosby, and that Stan Helton confirmed that that would be the case, because he was not sworn in at that time. So they were together that morning. So I called Mr. Stan Helton, the chairman, and I said, Mr. Helton, on that morning that the three of you met, did you discuss at any time with Larry Joe Sosby and Lynn Doss a check being cut for her for 2017 services? Did you discuss anything about a check for her at all, or are you aware of the check? Mr. Helton said, I'm not aware of any check. I didn't know anything about any checks to be approved for $4,500 or more. Not aware of the check, don't know anything about it, just became aware of it, and that I did not get involved in any checks in 2016 until I took office. That's basically, and I've got it in the article. So you have a chairman who said no, you have a chairman-elect that says I'm not aware of it, so that is bounding that chairman unbeknownst to him. Unbeknownst to him. Now, if he'd have said that morning we were in there, she said, I like my 2017 check. Could you go ahead and tell Bill? Could you walk over and tell Bill to give it to me? And this, if that would, and then he could say, hey, I went over and told Bill Lynn wants her check. She needed her check. Go, if you cut it, I'm okay with it. And Bill tell the accounts payable clerk to go ahead and do it if that had happened. But chairman says no. The new chairman says unbeknownst to him. So Lynn Doss bound this chairman unbeknownst to use her services. Might be something illegal there. Over $4,500. Now, what is the big deal? Okay, so I interviewed Rita Davis Kirby. I asked Rita Davis Kirby, FYN contacted CFO and clerk, former FYN contacted former CFO and clerk Rita Davis Kirby and asked the following questions. Why is your name on the check for Lynn Doss on 12/14? My name along with, this is her answers, my name along with Mr. Simonds appears on every check as an electronic signature. So if you print them, the electronic signature is still on there. I think they've taken it off, and I think my understanding is Mr. Helton is hand signing those checks right now because they've had to readjust the system. But they're on there. So I asked the question, you were the county clerk during the last commissioners meeting of 2016. Was Ms. Doss' check approved at that meeting? Were other checks approved at that meeting? I want to know. Ms. Doss's check was not approved at the December 13th meeting, and we did approve several checks at that meeting. This is Rita Davis Kirby's interview with us. I asked her then, Chairman Simonds has gone on the record, because he did. He went on the record with FYN saying he instructed Ms. Julie Locke, not to cut Mrs. Doss's check. Did you hear the conversation between Mr. Simonds and Ms. Locke? If so, what do you recall? And this is her comment. My recollection of Ms. Doss' check being cut is that Ms. Locke came into my office on December 14th. I remember it very distinctly because it was the same day that the Post Commissioner Sosby and Chairman Stan Helton told me my services would no longer be needed after the first of the year, and Ms. Doss was present at that meeting. Ms. Locke told me that Ms. Doss had asked for her check. She's a county attorney. She should know this is not going to fly. Ms. Locke told me that Ms. Doss asked for her check, but that she had already received her December payment, and she stated that just to make sure, she went back and checked to make sure she had received 12 payments, and since she had, this would be for January 2017. I told Julie, Ms. Locke, that she would have to get approval from Bill Simonds to cut the check, and since it was over $4,500, another commissioner would have to approve it as well. I heard, this is her statement on record from Rita Davis Kirby, I heard Mr. Simonds tell Julie that if the check was for January, then he was not going to approve it. He said that he felt Stan needed to be in on approving 2017 invoices over $4,500. I asked this question. Did Ms. Locke tell you who instructed her to print the check? This is Rita Davis Kirby's statement. Ms. Locke informed Ms. Doss that Mr. Simonds did not approve. So she's telling me that Ms. Locke told Ms. Doss that Mr. Simonds did not approve the check to be cut since it was actually in January payment and Mr. Simonds felt it should be approved in January meeting. Ms. Locke then received a call from Commissioner Sosebee, who at the time told Ms. Locke to cut the check from Ms. Doss and he would approve it. I asked the question, did Larry Joe Sosebee pick up the check or Lynn Doss? She replied, Commissioner Sosebee came in the office and initialed the check, and then Ms. Doss came in to pick the check up. I tried to send the county attorney a list of questions. She has not responded. She will not respond. I asked her who notified her of the check. I asked her, did she request a check from Commissioner Sosebee? Why did she accept the check with only one approval? Did she write the home rule, which was passed, requiring 2 commissioners to approve a check over $4,500? Ms. Doss has not responded to any of my questions. Now, I called Post Commissioner Larry Joe Sosebee. He was very short and abrupt, and he said, I get calls all the time, tell me checks are ready. I just couldn't come by and initial them, and they needed me on Wednesday. They needed me to come by and initial. A couple checks was ready, and I just went by and initialed the checks. I said, was Bill there or not? No, Bill was nowhere to be found, but I just went by and initialed checks. They told me that happens all the time. Now, wait a minute. He was there that morning. He was there that morning with Lynn Doss. Bill was there. See, that had been the perfect opportunity. See, Bill was there because I know. Because I was at the reception for Bill. Oh, we had ham, we had turkey, we had salad. We had a nice reception for Bill. I mean, yeah, Bill was, we had a reception. It was the Christmas, the 13th was the courthouse Christmas reception they do every year. Bill's leaving. They gave him a little plaque. The school, the woodworking shop over at the high school made Bill a nice plaque outline of Fannin County. I remember it all too well. Bill was there. So was Larry Joe. So was Stan. So was Lynn. That'd have been the damnedest time. I would think that would have been the damnedest time to go Larry Joe and Lynn and Stan into Bill's office. Well, see, Larry Joe couldn't because that had been against Sunshine Law. But Larry Joe could have been the second initial that morning. So Lynn and Stan could have went in Bill's office that morning. And no laws would have been broken, you see. See, they're having a meeting that morning. Larry Joe, Stan, Rita Davis Kirby, and Lynn Doss. So they get done and they tell Rita, you know what, as of the first of the year, you're no longer here. Okay, bada bing, bada boom, you're out. So they say that. See, they could have, no laws would have been broken. They could have said right after that meeting, Lynn could have said, Stan, do me a favor, let's go down here, let's talk to Bill right fast. I'd like to get my check, and I know he's going to want to know if you're okay with it. Let's run down here, and you tell Bill that you're okay with me having my check, and then Bill initial it, and Larry Joe initial it, and everybody's good. See, everybody was there. Why not take advantage of why waste the gas? Why drive all the way to work and then get a call saying, oh, you forgot to initial some checks? All hell, that happens all the time. Why? Could have took care of it that morning. But no, Larry Joe came back. Post Commissioner Larry Joe came back to the scene of a potential crime. Potential. Just say potential. Damn it. Larry Joe drove back. Put his initials on the check. So I do it all the time, just run up our initial checks. Here's the bottom line. I'm your host. The story is on fetchyournews.com, Fannin County. Folks, say a little prayer for me, because God knows they're coming after BKP. Oh, that was a pretty good one, right? Yeah. Write that down, because you know it. I've been told it's the third rail. I've been warned. I have been warned how dangerous this subject is. But let me end by saying, if the Fannin County Commissioners, if Dawson Associates provide the Fannin County Board of Commissioners with a service agreement for their services with a value per hour, and they say they will itemize their bill, and it comes to $5,700, and they take it up there in a Board of Commissioners meeting and publicly say, I would like to appoint Doss and Associates as the Fannin County attorney based on the service agreement they have provided, and they get, can I get a motion? Then fine. Then we get billed, then the county citizens get billed, get itemized billing, and they know there's an agreement with Doss and Associates, and there you go, right? But no, there's nothing. You will not find nothing of any record of how they came to a deal with her other than, I have to say it, there is some kind of fear that I'm too dumb to realize here in this studio, and I don't really know what I'm doing because I've been told this is a major mistake for me even touching this. I'm sorry. I will always come down on the citizens of the county. If Ms. Doss, I'm not talking about her legal representation, anything, if they provide all that and they do that, then hey, then the people you elected, see, you can't let the decision come out of the hands of the elected officials, and that's what Doss and Associates do. It's not their decision. They will tell you it's the chairman. They will tell you they serve at the pleasure of the chairman, but it's not. It is absolutely not. You elected Larry Joe Sosby, you elected Earl Johnson, and you elected Stan Helton, and before that, several more for the past 20 years approximately that she's been the county attorney, and you do not touch this issue or even talk about it because you could be gone. Ask one chairman. Now, the whole story is on Fannin County, FetcherNews.com, Fannin County, who authorized 2017 advance payment for Fannin County Attorney Lynn Doss. Everything is there. You can read the home rule. I've got all of the interviews I did with everybody. There's going to be a question that I can't answer this morning. Why did Julie Locke, the accounts payable clerk, print the check if told no? Okay, why? Because Bill Simonds is the CEO of the county. Fannin County has a CEO structure, meaning the day-to-day employees follow the instructions. So if he said no, she should not have printed the check. There's going to be a lot of question on why she did if Bill Simon said no. I'm not going to speculate why. Maybe she can answer that question at a later time. Because I do think there'll be an investigation. The home rule is printed here. The Georgia Constitution on home rule is here. And some examples of other counties approving their county attorney is on the article. Again, FetcherNews.com, Fannin County, and it's called Who Authorized 2017 Advance Payment for Fannin County Attorney Lynn Doss. And I'm going to go out here on a limb and say maybe some of these questions can get answered, because I think maybe it's time for the district attorney's office to actually go into the Fannin County Board of Commissioners and investigate this. I think it's time for the district attorney to look at this a little closer, because I'll tell you what, it's time to drain the swamp, Fannin County. I'm your host, BKP. I'm going to take a brief break, and then I'll come back and we're going to talk about the inauguration and the Katie Sassine show. So don't leave me now, FYNTV.com. Cole, take us a break.